Welcome everybody to this week's webinar. So we're excited to present the winter release for some improvements to MWF. I'm going to open up a little document here to actually show you a few things. Of course, once you guys are going to download the new build from your Structsoft portal, you'll be able to access the changelog, so you can see any changes that have been done. And you can get information online as well. I may not have everything in here, but at least some of the key features that are going to be available to you with the new build, which is going to be 7991. Now this is going to affect Pro Metal, Pro Wood, Pro Suite. A lot of the tools that I'm going to be showing today may be a bit more specific to the Pro Wood side, but that doesn't matter. There's a little bit of everything in here. So a couple of things that I'm just going to talk about, I won't be actually showing this, is improvements to shop drawing generations. So some of you may have noticed that when you're selecting multiple panels and you're running the shop drawing tool, it may slow down the system and it may take a little while. So the team has gone ahead and made improvements so that this is sped up. There's an improvement for the floor work sharing workflow. So we're seeing this more and more that clients are using the work sharing workflow at this point. So we made some improvements on the floor module aspect. There's some commands that have been removed in multiple locations, whether it's in the wall module, the floors, or the trusses. You probably won't notice this because there are things that were not necessarily being used or that may have been developed in the past for specific clients. So you'll see this in the notes, but I'd say for most of you, this is not going to be anything to worry about. So what we're going to jump into right now that I want to show you is the new notching tool. So let me go ahead and open MWF here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a wood panel. So let's add a door. Close this up. Create. All right. So in the panel's properties, there's going to be a notching tool that we can now use in the miscellaneous tab. If I just open this, so this is specific to Pro Wood, or if you have Pro Suite as well. So right down here for notching. Now the team has added a preview here on the right side, which is interactive. So you'll notice that I did frame my panel, so with my door. So we're seeing this in this preview. If I was to go in here and manipulate, maybe remove the door and reframe, you're going to see the exact preview in this notching dialog box. So first thing is you would activate the tool. You'll notice the different member types here that we can set the notching properties to. So as I select these, if I enable my verticals, these are all going to get highlighted so that I know which members I'm going to be working with. So because I have a door here, which is for the example to show the kings and jacks, as I select these, we'll see these light up in green. Now I can zoom in this drawing. This is going to allow me to see the actual notches once I set them up. You've got your import and export settings here at the top. And as well, there's a button down here to add individual members. So I'm going to run a couple of examples here to show you how this new tool is going to function. So let's say I want to affect the cripples that I have up here. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go ahead and say that the depth of this notch is maybe 3/4 inch. And there's going to be depth tolerance and then side tolerance that you can also add. So if I put 1/4 inch, okay, this is good. And then maybe I want to change this stud here. So let's say this would be 1, 2, 3, I think. So when I do the add individual member, or if I want to do it before adding extra lines, you can go ahead here in the vertical space and just select enable, and I can use the drop-down menu to pick a specific stud. So let's say stud 3, or let's go a little bit further into the panel. Let's say stud 5. So now this line is specifically going to be set up for this stud. I can add an extra line and then bring back all verticals if I want, or you can actually switch the type. So if I enable this and I want to work on maybe just one of the king studs, one of the cripples, you can also choose from this drop-down menu the member types. So for my stud 5 here, let's go ahead and add maybe a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to change the tolerance. Actually, I'm not going to put any tolerance. We're going to leave it as is. Okay. I'm going to hit update, or sorry, apply. And as I said, this preview is interactive. It's live. So whatever you're doing, you'll get to kind of see ahead of time right here. Make sure that everything is okay before you reframe your panel. So for my cripples here that I played with, it's going 3/4 in, and then I put a 1/4 inch gap for the depth. If I wanted to put the side tolerance, let's say I'll add something ridiculous, say 1 inch, a little bit wider, hit update, and now you'll see that your side tolerances are also coming in. So let me put this back to 0. I'm going to hit apply and OK. Let this run. And we're just going to zoom in here. Okay. So you've got your voids that are created, okay, between, the notches that have been created. For all the cripples, this actually goes into this header piece as well. If you had a window, for example, it would be similar. If there's a double header or a double sill, the first one will get notched, the second one will remain intact. And if we change this to being a simple header, so if I switch this rule up, give me just 1 second here. I'm gonna bring that door back. And let's see if I just put, I would, okay, and you'll notice here, it doesn't notch into the single header. Okay, so this is built in by default. And like I said, this would be the same thing if you had a window, for example, with a double sill or a double flat header. Let's just jump into the tool one more time. Go here into notching. And I can drag this out to have a much bigger screen as well. Okay, so just to go over this one more time. So you activate your tool. You can then select which ones you want to enable. By default, this isn't fixed. So if I hit this, it's going to enable everything. You have complete control over the member type and the member label that you want to work with. So you can switch. I want to go to my jack stud and work specifically with, do I have, no, I don't have any more in this because I changed my marker. Let's go with the king studs and say I want the one on the right or I want the one on the left, for example. Okay, and then you've got your tolerances as well as the notch depth that you set up here. And then you can update to see the changes directly into the little preview that we have here on the edge. If I go update, and then I can zoom in and see what's happening. All right, this is a very interesting tool that's been added. I think a lot of the pro wood users are going to be happy with this. The next thing that I want to show you is going to be with the floor module. Now, nothing new if you've been using MWF to create wall panels. The tools are going to be very similar, but I think for anybody who's been designing floors, this is going to be a much welcome tool, as it's going to help you speed up the process of modeling as well as searching through the project. So what I'm talking about is the template map with the quick create and the quick search. So these have all been added now for the floor module. So again, we're used to having these already available when creating the walls, and now floors have them. So it's going to work the exact same way. I have different floors set up right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit the template map. And now if this is new for anybody, what template map does is it allows us to assign our MWF templates that we've created for framing our floors, ceilings, wall panels, and we're assigning them to the Revit object right here, so the Revit floor. And once we hit that quick create, I can mass select the entire project, hit quick create, and then it's going to go and find each template that's associated to that floor type and start framing it out. So I think, just want to double check that I have the right floor here. Yeah. Okay, so let's go into template map. Now, when you're in template map, you will just have to hit the add button if you want to create a new map. I have the one for today's demo that's already created. So I've assigned a wood template to my generic 10-inch and to this steel truss VCT. And my generic 12-inch floor, I assigned, let me just open this up, the light gauge template. So I'm going to hit OK. And now, just like walls, I can grab everything. I can hit the quick create. And similar to, when you're creating your floors in the previous builds, you're still going to get your floor label that's going to get generated with the nodes and the gizmo in the middle for your span direction and sorry, your joist. Okay, so these are all created now, and then I can go ahead and hit that regen. If I don't need to go back into each of these panels to look at the properties, I'll just hit regenerate to get my framing created. Let's give this a few seconds. All right, perfect. So I said this one had wood, this one had wood. I just hide this, actually, here we go. I got my lumber, and then this one I had created using the steel template. And the next tool, so I'm just gonna go somewhere here in my project. I'm gonna hit that quick search, and I'm gonna look for panel 1. Hit search. So it's looking for floor panels only. It's not going to overlap with walls, for example. So you're not going to get your wall panels as well as the floor panels. If, for example, right now I just wrote panel 1 and I know that I have some walls with that label, this is going to be specific to anything that is floor / ceiling. And then if I just actually remove the number here, so I just want floors, search. So as I select these, the software is going to go zoom in on them so you can find where these are in your project quickly. And again, floors did not have this previously, so this is going to be nice in order to get around your project and locate your panels. I'm going to exit here. And there's one more thing you guys are going to notice with the new build. I had a bit of a little issue this morning with mine, but when you're adding templates now, and I'm going to talk about it so that no one gets nervous when they see the change. If I go into my template manager, we're actually removing this storage disk location. From now on, when you jump into your templates, they're always going to be saved to the project. So this will be the only option that's basically highlighted. So I'd say, this is where it's important to kind of have that Revit template created with all of your MWF settings. So every time you start a new project, all that info is there as soon as you start. But of course, you always have your exporting of templates or your global settings, import, export, that will work as well. So just a heads up that the disk location is going to be removed with the new build. All right, so we looked at the notching tool, we looked at the floor module. Again, there's tools that have been removed. So I believe in your tools here, if you open this up before you update the new build, there's some tools such as macros or processing, I think. So a few things that have disappeared within the list of tools since they're not being used anymore. Next thing, let's just go down here a little bit. We're going to be jumping into the multi-layer modeling. So we've added some extra options for your sheathing. So we've got the ability to have horizontally tiled and horizontally staggered sheathing. We've also added an option where you can determine if it's at the start, end, both sides, or from the center bay that your sheets are going to be basically placed into the panel. Okay, so let's jump into that. I've got two files here that I've opened. There's a lot of examples, so I'm only going to go through a couple of them, and I'm going to explain how the new settings work. So let's open this and this. Okay. So now we're jumping into multi-layer. So I'm going to go into my settings for sheathing. I've got a bunch of these templates here for the examples. I'm just going to stick to the default one just to show you where the changes are. So under sheathing layout, you'll now see your selection for basic vertical tiled, basic horizontal tiled, and then your two staggered options. As well, you'll notice right here, there's a drop-down menu, which lets you determine where's the layout direction. Is it at the start of my panel, the end? Are we putting full sheets at the start and end? And are we starting from the center bay of my panel? Okay, and then the next option right here, we've got another preview window, which has been added. And we have that option here at the top, which is called break sheathing panels at opening bounds. So when I turn this on, you'll notice here, my sheets right now are going around my opening. If you check this on, your sheets will now stop when it hits an opening and then start placing a new sheet. All right. So we're going to look at a couple examples that were used. I'm going to go back out here. I'm going to drop, is this horizontally staggered? No, let's go just for the basic setup. Okay. Oops. And this one here is at the end. So let's put this here. Okay. You can already see it. So the first one that I selected here, so these are horizontally tiled, not to break at bounds, and we're laying the sheets out from the start of the panel. Whereas panel 3, or is this 13? 13 is starting from the end. So we're laying these ones out from left to right. So you'll see the extra piece. Whereas this one here now was told to go from the end of the panel and place the sheets. Okay, now I don't have a window in here, so I'm going to do that in another example. Let's go pick something. Where are these staggereds? Let's go look for a staggered example that starts center bay. Right here. So let's draw this in. Okay, and let me place a window. I think these walls are a little high. Let's put some details. Let's put the color. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to just regenerate this panel. Actually think, 1 second here. Yeah, I thought so. I put 2 by mistake. Okay, once I have my window right here, let's bring those back and let me regenerate. So this setup, the sheets are going to be laid out from the center bay, and they should be going around the window opening. Okay. So this one was, I think, do not break at bound. So I'll just double check to make sure that this was right. So not break at bounds. Okay, so you'll see here, so your full-size panels, so these 4x8s are being placed at the center of the panel, and then we're laying them out towards the left and right. And then the do not break at bound, like I mentioned, is it's not going to separate that sheet. It's not going to cut that sheet as soon as it hits an opening, whether your door, windows, or openings. And if I change that setup, so if I actually go into this panel, I'll go into its properties here, and let's go ahead and change this. And I'll turn this on. Okay, so now you'll notice that the sheet panels are now cutting as they reach the openings. Okay, so as I said, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios. So I'm not going to run through all of them, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of the flexibility of the sheathing tool now, as you can use horizontal and vertically aligned, vertically tiled, as well as the staggered options. And then if you want to start them from left, right, both sides, or from the center of your panel. Next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to close these two so I don't need them anymore. Again, in the multi-layer tools, there's one more thing that I want to show. So we've added an option to flip your horizontal members in your secondary layers. So if I just go ahead and jump into my options for this panel, so wall properties. So here's my secondary layer. And what I've done is I've dragged from left over here into the available features. I've gone ahead and said I want to work with my top track and bottom track. So if you guys are adding these in your secondary layer for your multi-layer walls, you can now flip the bottom member. So for example here, I can flip this. And let me just pick my 600T. And do I have a T here too? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to select this option for the configuration. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK since I had already created it. Okay, so we'll notice here that it's added my secondary here at the bottom, and my tracks are now flipped in the opposite direction. All right. So this is something that's available directly in your settings when you're creating secondary templates. If I just jump in here for modify, so again, you're going to pick the available features from the left. It could be horizontal, your top tracks and bottom tracks, and this will allow you to flip the member. Let's back this out, back out of here. And let's just make sure. So there's a few more things. I guess I'm just going to quickly mention. These are some options that you'll see once you download the new software. For trusses, for example, they've added so that when you have identical hip trusses, they're going to get the same label. So this is for Pro Metal and Advanced Metal, as well as Pro Suite, so any of the steel softwares that we have. And then there's also an improvement to the functionality with the line approach. And I encourage you guys to have a look today. If you can download it, it should be showing up in your software, your Struxoft Solution portal. If it isn't there yet, just give it a, maybe till the end of the day, as we started uploading that this morning. Let me just jump back into my project here. And hopefully some of these tools are going to be some, much needed improvements for some of you, especially I think on the floor side, it's going to be nice for the increase in speed as far as creating through the Quick Create tool. And as well, the notching tool for anybody who's using Pro Wood, I think is a nice addition to our tool sets. Of course, there's more improvements coming your way. Hopefully we'll get to see those by the time summer hits. So Rishab, if you want to take it over, and then we'll see if there's any questions for today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Alex, for the demonstration. And we'll now open the floor to take any of your questions. And you can do so by raising your hand in the webinar dashboard or by typing it in the questions tab. While we wait for questions, I would like to remind everyone that the recording of this presentation will be sent through tomorrow via email and also posted on our social media channels by the end of the day today. So please feel free to share the recording with your colleagues and friends. We're just going to wait a few more seconds to see if there are any questions. And that looks like a wrap for today. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you, Alex, for the presentation again. I hope all of you have a great day today, and take care, everyone.
Take care.